Hey, just signing on here, trying to get my phone in the right spot there. Thanks for joining. Hey, I'm running a few minutes late today. I was on a conference call, and I'm trying to do this at the top of the hour. So sorry that I got headphone hair too. Hi, hey Dana, how are you? Shannon, good to see you. Cindy, Bill, man, it's the whole gang here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's Paul joining us from the United Kingdom, and Mona, hey, thanks. Gosh, it's kind of like we got our little club that gets together every day at this time, and I'm really thrilled by that, honored by that. Thank you for taking time to join in. Yeah, you'll be on with this title. And good evening, Paul. How you doing? Airlines, don't get me started. I figured that might be a topic that would draw a few of you in here. I've got so many buddies that just go on and on and on about how difficult it is and how tough the airlines is. So I'm going to give you my theory about why most of the airlines have such difficulty. Okay, if you look at who makes up airline executives and the leaders of the airlines, prison planes, it's like cattle cars, right? Take a look at the leadership of most airline companies, and you'll find that they have a transportation background. At least that's what it's called. But if you really dig deeper, what you find is they have a scheduling background. They have a maintenance background. They have an airplane background. In fact, what they've specialized in is not the people that are in the planes, but moving the planes from one airport to the other. I did a blog post a while back, and unfortunately the guy now has had a heart attack. But did you see where United, so United Airlines, their CEO is now in legal trouble because of a scandal that's involving the state of New Jersey. And so they have fired him and some of the other people on the team. Of course, they fired him with a big golden parachute of many millions of dollars. I would go away for half of what he went away for. But anyway, so they hire someone from the board. Now, the person that they hired from the board, the new CEO of United Airlines, was the chief operating officer of the biggest freight railroad in the United States. In other words, he literally was the guy in charge of moving cattle cars, moving trains. And so he was on the board of United Airlines. That gave him the experience of what to do with dealing with customers. And to his credit, he came out and said, the focus was going to be on customers. Now, unfortunately, the guy in his 50s has had a heart attack. They've appointed a new temporary CEO. But one of the things I said in the blog post, and praying for the guy to recover, but one of the things I said in the blog post is, if you really want to change customer service, why in the world do you hire a guy whose experience has been in trains, who served on the board of what is arguably one of the worst customer service companies in the world? Instead, they focus on moving the planes. Now, think about that for a minute. The planes are incredibly challenging, right? I mean, what a piece of marvelous technology, how difficult it must be to keep it working, to move them from one city to another. But they're more focused. This is the reason the airlines have such terrible service. The focus of the airlines, in fact, the background of the airline executives, is more on how do you get the plane from Nashville to Los Angeles than how you get the people from Nashville to Los Angeles. We're focusing on getting the plane from point A to point B, and there just happen to be people inside it. That's kind of the view of the airlines. What if they changed their perspective? What if it was all about the passengers, right? We'll hire the technical experts to put the plane where it needs to be, but we're going to focus on the passengers. And Paul, that's exactly the point. You're right. It's the wrong focus. So I ask you to think about your business for just a minute, Is it on doing the function of the business, or have you focused on what it takes to thrill the customers? By the way, my buddy Dana is on the line here. I'm going to talk about Dana for a minute. Dana is one of the members of the platinum-selling, Grammy award-winning band Diamond Rio. And I think one of the things, and Dana, I've been noticing so much of the marketing that you guys have been doing lately, the constant emails and the pictures that you're sending out with lyrics from your number one hit songs, and the way that you're connecting with your fans. more than ever before. And one of the things that Dana does during every show is he takes pictures of the audience, and he takes a selfie where you see him, but you see the audience in the background. Well, I've noticed the numbers of people hitting that just keep going up and up and up. Now, obviously, the reason they go there first is they want to see if their own picture is in the audience, or that was the show they went to. But it seems that there's a new and renewed and increased focus on the fan, on the customer. And I think that's absolutely awesome. I think it's what all of us need to be doing. So the fundamental question for you is, are you focused in the right spot? Billion-dollar industries are messing this up. It's pretty obvious to see why a small business can mess it up too. Paul asks a great question. Do you think businesses cut too many costs rather than increase revenue? Paul, I think, just my take on it, I think part of what happens is businesses put themselves in a spiral, and that spiral is so hard to get out of. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, our revenues aren't where we want them to be, so, man, we got to cut costs. Where do most organizations begin to cut costs? In their people. When the airlines got in trouble, what's the first thing they did? They reduced the salaries of the flight attendants and the pilots, right? And some of these folks took double-digit decreases 2 years in a row. That's your face of the company to your customer, right? And so this spiral begins, right? It's suffocating is what it does. You're right. What this spiral does is, okay, so let's cut our costs. Let's reduce our number of people that we have working for us, which means we can't serve our customers as well. So what happens when you can't serve your customers as well? It's pretty obvious. They go someplace else. So what does that mean for your business? It means now you're in a tighter financial situation. And I see companies that go on this spiral, right? Revenues are down, so we're going to cut staff. And so customers don't come back, so revenues are down, so we're going to cut more staff. Look at what happened with Circuit City. When Circuit City, which, by the way, was one of the 11 companies that Jim Collins said in the book Good to Great was one of the great companies in the world, and now they're bankrupt. And why did they go bankrupt? They didn't get that fundamental flaw. Revenues were down. They saw competition from Best Buy and other retailers. And so they cut. And here's who they cut. They cut the people that were making the most money. What is Circuit City? Bill, I don't know if you know. Circuit City was a national chain in the United States and in Canada as well. That was an electronics retailer. They were a competitor with Best Buy and Fry's and others. They went out of business, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Might be a little longer than that. I think 2010. But yeah, they were penny wise and pound foolish. They cut. Who was making the most money? Well, the people that had been there the longest. But the problem was, those were the people that knew the most about the equipment they were selling. So, plane going overhead here. So they canned the people that knew what they were talking about, and they hired people just off the street that would work for less. And so you'd go into Circuit City, and these people weren't trained to wait on you. They didn't know the equipment, and I experienced it personally. It became so frustrating there that you just left without buying anything. And then what did they do? Oh, gosh, revenues continue to go down. Let's let go more people. And they put themselves on a death spiral. So, gosh, one of the things you got to look at, look, times get tough in business, and there are times we have to cut overhead. But cutting it from the people who are taking care of customers, to me, that's the wrong place to do it. So the lesson that we learned from the airlines is, where is your business focus? Yeah, I was just reading an article. I'll tweet it a little bit later on, and it was on. It was from CEOs saying that the first thing that every CEO needs to do is work 2 days in the company call center. Isn't that cool? So that you're hearing what the problems are of the business, and so that you're hearing what they're really saying. They quantify good service immediately, which is why they won't do it. Bill, I've had executives say, well, how do I measure, customer service? How do I measure the customer experience? And I say, well, the first way you start doing it is measure retention. If customers are coming back, we call this a clue, right? I mean, it means that there's a reason they're coming back, and it's got to be part of it's got to be if they're getting good service. So customers don't come back if they're getting lousy service in most cases. So start by measuring retention, and it's amazing to me how that doesn't make sense to most folks. Okay, so the message today is, where's the focus of your business? Is it in the right place? Because a business without the focus in the proper place can never create marketplace distinction. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. Hope everybody's doing great and look forward to hearing your comments. And, oh, man, see, before we go, I just want to address that because, Mona, that's a great point. If you have a very bad call center, it's just amazing to me. I did this yesterday in my speech for Bridgestone in New Orleans. I say, think of Indiana Jones, right? Think of Indiana Jones. Then I put up a picture of Steven Spielberg, and I said, did you think of him? Then I put a picture of George Lucas. Did you think of him? Well, no, you didn't think of him. Who did you think of? You thought of Harrison Ford. Now, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas own the intellectual property for Indiana Jones. They make the movies. They write the deals. But you thought of Harrison Ford. You thought of the employee who created the experience for you. And it's amazing to me that businesses don't understand that the people in the call center are the employees who are creating the experience for the customers. The front line of your retail stores, or the people, the sales professionals that are calling on customers, the flight attendants that welcome you on the flight. They are creating the experience for the customers, and they're going to drive all of that. So it becomes absolutely critical to get these folks, well-educated, well-trained at the top of the field. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you for your comments, and look forward to reading your tweets and seeing you on Periscope as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you soon.